Shakur Stevenson defending the WBC lightweight title, the Glamour belt, against William Zepeda this Saturday. I love this fight. I think Zepeda is a little undervalued heading into this fight. It's funny, a lot of people feel like Stevenson's going to dominate and stop Zepeda in the pocket. Some people almost think we're going to get Mayweather Gotti kind of stuff out of Shakur Stevenson in this fight. I don't think the data shows us that. I don't think the data shows us that. I think the data that, as I read it, Shakur is the favorite. I picked Stevenson to win, but I wouldn't be surprised. This isn't a shocking upset if 33 and 0, 27 knockouts, William Zepeda, who's a naturally bigger lightweight, he's taller than Shakur, actually has slightly longer reach than Shakur, been a lightweight his whole career. Shakur, as we know, is a champ coming up from 26 and 30. If I could see, Oscar De La Hoya says a lot of things, but he compared this fight, and of course, Zepeda's his promoter, to Mayweather Castillo 1. I don't think that's out of the question. I don't think it's out of the question you get Nick Ball versus Raymond Ford. You were at that fight late last year. Very competitive fight where Nick Ball just kind of outworked the cleaner, sharper precision work of Ray Ford. I could see that happening. I could see Shakur being the more precise, accurate fighter, landing the more head snapping shots, but Zepeda being relentless. I'll go with Stevenson because of defense and precision, and I'm trusting him to do something he hasn't been executing at 135 pounds, and that's let his fucking hands go in the pocket and take advantage. And I got to make this joke again. You were at Puerto Rican Day Parade with Berlanga, and now it's time for my little flex. I was once eating dinner with Shakur Stevenson and Terrence Crawford, and you know what Shakur did at that dinner, Raheem? He finished his plate, and I did not. I only ate the cooked beef and all the vegetables and all the healthy things that an athlete needs to eat. They were left on my plate. I only ate the meat, and Shakur looked at my plate, and I correctly picked Ryan Garcia knocking out Luke Campbell at this dinner, and Shakur had Luke Campbell. I tried to tell him, but he goes, "Damn, I could tell you're not a professional athlete, because all you did was eat the meat, and I ate everything you're supposed to eat." So in this fight, Shakur, finish your plate. If everything that's available, because Zepeda will be there defensively, and Zepeda, he's not some bum, man. He has an active jab, and that's going to be important in the transition. So he's not just in no man's land before he gets to Shakur's chest. Mixes up his punches high, low. But Shakur, he'll be there defensively, and as long as Shakur lets his hands go significantly more than he has in his fights at 135 pounds and the fight he had with Jeremiah Nakathila, this is going to be the most exciting fight of his career, win or lose. I think he'll win. I think he'll win a decision, but I'm not quite seeing the all-out domination. And if it happens, he rips this guy apart in the pocket, I will sing his praises come Monday, Sunday. But what do you think, Raheem?
Don't look for that firefight. And it isn't because Shakur doesn't have heart or he
Zepeda's going to make it a firefight.
And it isn't because Zepeda is going to make it a firefight. And if it is a firefight, you're exactly right. It'll be because Shakur has no choice. However, I think he is the more proficient fighter on his feet with his shot selection and his ring intelligence. Now, the generalship might fall to Zepeda, but the smarts is going to go to Shakur. And unlike what you expect from a fight like Castillo and Mayweather, you've got to remember that Shakur is like a pitcher more than a fighter. And the reason I say that is because he's got to be conscious of punch count, like a pitcher is conscious of pitch count. He's always aware that he's one punch away from fighting the rest of the fight with throbbing hands. And so being in the pocket and exchanging isn't something he can't do, but it isn't smart to do because any one of those punches can land at that hard part of the cranium, can hit an elbow, can end up being an albatross for the rest of the fight. So if you can pick a shot, one or two, and get out and not have to throw three or four and wait for three and four for another 2 or 3 seconds when you get the angle and then move again. Select not just what punch to throw, but where it lands. He can't be reckless about where these punches land. He can't just be beating up the arms and elbows like Canelo does. He can't just be landing shots on the top of the head like Triple G did. He's got to know where it's landing and then know that if he is fighting his fight, that he's throwing and landing as few punches necessary to win it. And that's what nobody is considering when they talk about him
I
as a
even forgot
runner.
again, and
You know
I
what I mean?
consider
Like,
it and then re-forget. Yeah, yeah.
it's like this shrinking of the ring. That's disrespect, bro. That is targeting a particular fighter and trying to manipulate the outcome of a certain matchup. I think that's not cool. I think that he has to deal with that. He has to deal with Turkey tweeting. And again, class act. He hasn't taken the bait. He hasn't talked shit. He hasn't gotten outside of, what he needs to be focused on, even though we in the media are trying to draw it out of him every day. He's taking it all in stride. I don't think he's feeling the pressure to have to perform a certain way because of the criticism, because he knows what it is. And he doesn't want to say exactly what it is because even that opens up a certain amount of vulnerability to what he's got to do in there. So yeah, you're right. Zepeda does have to put him in corners, does have to box him in, pun intended, does have to make him fight his fight. But every fighter tries to do that. And I don't think Shakur should give 1 second of consideration to the fans' entertainment value or what Turkey wants to see or Sunday morning cartoons or the size of the ring. He's got to go in there and do what he has to do to get the victory the way he needs to get it done. And it has nothing to do with heart or desire to exchange or ability to stay in the pocket. It has to do with what he is physically capable of doing and what allows him to win the fight without having to take 6 months off to heal his hands. What's the crime in that? And I think everything counter to that, that is set up as a part of the fight, as the size of the ring, or if we were to implement some referee saying what you can and can't do or how long you have to throw the next punch in this particular matchup is so obviously targeted towards one fighter as opposed to another because we're trying to manufacture so-called action that it is a disrespect to the discipline of boxing. Absolutely not. Shakur's got to be Shakur, and Zepeda has to try to make him be Zepeda. And let's see what happens. But it is not Shakur's responsibility to be anybody but Stevenson.
It will be his responsibility if ultimately he doesn't have a choice in this fight. And if he has to win this fight in the trenches, then it's his responsibility as a pro to find a way. But what you mentioned with the hands is such a great point because I watched on DAZN, it was about a week ago, a video they have of him in camp, right? He's not training at super high intensity, and when he takes his gloves off, he grimaces. And I even rewound it and played it in slow-mo to make sure I saw a grimace, and he grimaced. So that you could look at that as a foreshadowing of a potential upset too. But about the style of which he has to win this fight, he said it sounds like he thinks he might have to win this fight in the pocket though. Forget Turkey, forget a shrinking ring narrative and all that. He says this isn't Oscar Valdez. This guy closes the gap and is relentless. I know that I can't, kind of like Cotto in the first Margarito fight. I can't retreat that often in this fight. Guys like him, they get forward momentum off that. They get rolling downhill. I got to stop him in his tracks a little bit more. What would be cruel for Stevenson to have to go through in this fight is if he's able to win the fight that way. And he is eating them up in the pocket, giving everybody what they've been dying for and all that, but his hands betray him. That would be pretty sad to have to go through for Stevenson, and that could potentially happen in this fight. But
Do you think he knows that? Of course he's going to say what he said, and I'm not even saying it's not true. Yes, of course you're going to have to fight in the pocket, but
mhm,
you fight in spots. Don't
mhm,
live
mhm.
there. Don't try to prove something.
Yep.
Don't try to change what you do to please anybody, including the judges, because you have a superior, I believe, ability to
Yeah.
box and to move and to maybe be more offensive than you have been before because this fight demands that because of who you're facing. Absolutely. I'm not saying pull a skull. I'm saying do what you need to do, but only that. And there is no shame in that. And you don't owe anybody more than that because you have a Achilles heel that everybody knows about, and no one's going to want to hear your excuse about, oh, I hurt my hand in the fifth round. It's not going to matter. So if anybody can tell you that excuses don't matter, it's Devin Haney. Don't fall for it. Do your thing, bro. Do it. And if Zepeda doesn't let you do it, well, that's different. That's boxing. That's Zepeda's job, not your job. Yes, if Zepeda doesn't let you do it, then it's your job to make the adjustment. But it's not your job to give him that. Maybe you can talk that, but don't put it on a bow and hand it to him.
Speaking of Haney and Shakur, right? One thing I feel like you tell me what you think about this, X's and O's wise. I think they've both gotten away from their jab. Like to compare them to Floyd Mayweather and Pernell Whitaker, right? Floyd being the orthodox like Devin, Shakur being the southpaw like Pernell. One reason their back foot boxing was so beautiful to watch was how busy. Well, Pernell's jab was busier than Floyd's. I mean, he was dominant and consistent with his jab, but Floyd had that famous stab jab to the body and was super proficient with the jab too. When you're talking about, yeah, I want to
The
see
lead right hand. Don't forget, Floyd would disrespect you with that lead right.
yes, yes,
What are you
yes.
gonna do? Sorry,
And
go on.
Pernell would eat whatever he wanted off the jab. Turn you, jab, 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 and then he'll get whatever I want off of it. I'll get the body shot off of it. I'll get the combination off of it. And that's what I want to see from Shakur and Devin when he returns in their boxing is I think that's been my critique of their back foot boxing lately is where's the jab? Where's the combinations off the jab and the stab in the body, controlling them, turning them? It's been inefficient, excessive movement by Shakur in the De Los Santos fight, Devin in the Ramirez fight. Devin did it against Prograis. Shakur did it against Herring and Valdez. Let's see that in the back foot game when it's time to do that, and then when you got to do the pocket, do the pocket. Let's see it. Let's see the whole package because they're capable of doing these things. I'm not sleeping on Zepeda. I think, but one problem for Zepeda in this fight is his chin. And a lot of people say it's his defense, but I think his defense has gotten a little bit better after 24 rounds with Farmer. He hides his chin, gives half of his body. He's a little less square than he once was, but he's not a Margarito. He's not a Jose Luis Castillo. He's not an iron-chinned Mexican. He's been down in a couple of fights. So if he was had an iron chin, I'd be like, that makes it that much harder for Shakur to keep him off. But I could see Shakur hurting him in this fight. This is gonna be a good one. I think this is gonna be a good one.
Yeah, it sounds like a main event.